started here. All right, everyone. So welcome to Teak Speaker Series. We're here tonight with Lee Adamson and Paul Antze. How do you say your last name, Paul?
Antze.
Antze from Green Neighbours Network, and they're gonna help us to understand what the Green Neighbours Network is all about. And so welcome to you both, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting us. We're really pleased to have this opportunity to talk to you today about a mission that's, I think, been very close to Paul and my heart for 4 years, I guess. Yeah, so it's a new organization. We have a shiny new federal incorporation as a nonprofit, which we got in May. And we're, still working on our bylaws and so forth, required for that incorporation. But that's a step we took kind of after we were already feeling that we had some good legs under us, and that there was a lot of support and enthusiasm for the network that we've been founding. So if we go back into the history, I think where it came from is, as Lowell mentioned, Paul and I have been involved with Green Neighbours 21, a local neighborhood green group in the old Ward 21, near sort of St. Clair and Bathurst area. And that's a very old group. It's been running for more than 12 years. And at the time that it was started, our founding person, Judy Veland, had the vision of having a green group in every ward in the city. So she started Green Neighbours in Ward 21, and she hoped there would be Green Neighbours in every ward in the city. And we're still hoping that will happen. And in fact, there were several green groups sort of spring up around the city that were neighborhood-based, grassroots. One in the former Ward 13. There was several more anyway. So I got interested in getting to know the people that were starting those groups. You'd hear about them and you'd see their posts for interesting events posted. And so I organized a party with a purpose and had them all over so we could get to know each other. And we talked about whether it would be useful to have these neighborhood-based green groups communicating with each other and supporting each other. And there was general enthusiasm for that. I think that was back in 2017. In 2018, after numerous meetings to work out what a network would look like, what it would do, and so forth, we launched Green Neighbours Network of Toronto in April of 2018. And at that point, Paul became chair and I became co-chair. And we had a steering committee that has been growing over time. And we've been recruiting member groups over time. So the function of this group, let's see if we can get the next slide, is to be a network of individuals and independent community groups that are working to make Toronto a city of greener, more vibrant neighborhoods, and a leader in the worldwide urban movement against climate change. So basically, what we wanted to do was to bring together individuals across the city who may or may not be in a green group yet, but that are feeling the urge, the inclination to get involved with improving the environment in the city. And we're using, greener, more vibrant. We're choosing words that are pretty open because we want to be able to include people that are doing community gardens or planting trees or beach cleanups, all the way up to people doing district energy systems, neighborhood solar projects. people across the city that are trying to make for a more sustainable future for Toronto. And a leader in the worldwide urban movement against climate change, because we do know that cities and the people that live in them were major contributors, especially us in the West, to climate change. So we really wanted to be doing something against climate change and getting that happening right down at the grassroots level. There we go. So this is our birthday in the spring of 2018. That's our cake with no candles because we're not yet a year old. And we did a lot of think tank sort of sessions at that meeting to come up with the different teams and missions for Green Neighbours Network. So on the basis of all that work, we came up with our website and content. You're all welcome to visit our website, greenneighboursnetwork.ca. And we have also have a newsletter that comes out once a month. We have about 600 individuals signed up for that newsletter. And we have, I can't read my own slide here, 500 followers on our Facebook page. And there's about 35 groups signed up as members of the network. About 16 are neighborhood groups and about 19 are citywide partners. And these are all listed on our website. This map is actually a bit dated, but shows that there is a map at the website. You can see where the green groups are located. And we would just love to put a little green polka dot where teak is and include them in our member groups.
Mm-hmm.
Rain Gardens United is there already. So the two types of groups, citywide and neighborhood, sort of serve different functions. The neighborhood groups, we want to involve people at the neighborhood level doing what they think their neighborhood needs to make it greener and more vibrant. And we hope that they will support each other. So if somebody wants to do a movie night and has never done it, they can reach out to a neighborhood group that has done a movie night and get some tips and suggestions for movies that go over well. The citywide partners are generally speaking larger groups like LEAF and Toronto Environmental Alliance and TRCA. And they often have programs, maybe some funding, activities, resources that the neighborhood groups can draw on. And as well, the citywide partners often want to have their programs reach the grassroots. So it's sort of a win-win sort of a situation. Joining Green Neighbours Network as an individual is free. You can just sign up on our website. You'll get the newsletter. You can nominate your group for membership. And then we also have a zero waste team and a political engagement team that you can sign up for on our website. And, maybe I should pause there if there's any questions about the network. Basically, actually, it says in our tagline there, making connections, making friends, making a difference. That's basically what we want to do, is we want to connect people and groups across the city. We want it to be a social thing. People should be having fun, making friends, finding like-minded people to encourage each other, inspire each other, and then ultimately to make a difference, to make the city a greener and more vibrant place to live. Do you want us to pause there for a minute? Because I'm going to launch into my current passion, which is the eco fair.
Okay, so
Lee.
does anyone have any questions for Leah at this point?
Can I ask you to talk a bit more about the two teams, the zero waste team and the political engagement team?
Okay, so the zero waste team a lot of people are very concerned about primarily plastic pollution, but also just our wasteful society in general. So there are groups springing up across the city. For example, the Reduces groups. So it started with Roncy Reduces. Perhaps you know about these groups, which were basically in those, and we have one in our neighborhood, St. Clair Reduces. The idea was, it started a year ago, to get businesses that were willing to accept your reusable containers for coffee or sandwiches or whatever they're selling, to put a sticker in their window to say that they support bringing your own. And that took off like gangbusters. I think there's actually 15 Reduces groups across the province now that are grassroots groups trying to reduce waste. So I think this gives an example of how if one community, in this case Roncesvalles, has a great idea, it can spread through a network like ours. In this case, I think Roncy Reduces was profiled in the newspaper, and I think a lot of that spread happened directly through Tina Soldeveri, who is a very charismatic leader of that group. But the Zero Waste team, we're hoping will do similar things with other zero waste initiatives that happen across the city. The political engagement team currently is actually sort of mostly one of our member groups, which is Climate Fast, because that is their main mission, is to promote political engagement, mostly around climate. So because we don't want to duplicate what's happening, we want to promote and celebrate what's happening. We're just directing people who sign up for the political engagement team. We direct them to Climate Fast at the moment, so they can get involved there.
I have a question with regard to that. So is there an intention to grow that beyond Climate Fast, to reach out to other groups as well?
Absolutely. So it's sort of, I would say it's a startup sort of a thing. We didn't have the volunteers in place to start a new political engagement team. I think that, as you point out, there are other groups across the city who have that mandate and that interest, primarily related to political engagement. So it would be really nice to have some volunteers that would pull them together, and so they can work together and support each other and share resources. And
Lee, one thing I can add to that is that part of our vision is that in addition to giving people the ability to connect with one another, that we will also provide people with some of the knowledge, resources, and experience that some of us have had in connecting with our city councilors and with other political leaders. And so that we're hoping that the groups, that our member groups, will become effective in developing their own political voices across the city, and that in staying in close connection with each other, they can begin to share some of the same messages as well. These are not things that we would impose from the center, because we're not a coalition, we're a network, and these things need to emerge from our member groups. We want to facilitate that, though, and we think that that would be a very positive outcome. And to some extent, it's already happening, but there's a lot of room for development there. And as Lee points out, the Climate Fast has basically been, because it's what they do already, they've been a kind of placeholder for us in terms of that part of our mission. But it does create a kind of skewed effect that it seems as though, well, the political stuff is all being done by this one group. That's just the way it happens to be right now, and we would very much like to see something much more collaborative involving other groups from across the city.
Cool. Yeah, Rose, I see your hands up.
Yeah, you know, I mean, with respect to political engagement, especially with the city, the original model where it's like the group boundaries sort of correspond with the ward, that's great when you're just starting out, you know, blank slate and all that. And it makes perfect sense. Like, how have you found that that has affected groups with the ward boundaries suddenly changing?
Are you asking like Green Neighbors 21 is no longer in Ward 21, that type of thing?
Well, I mean, I know that you have neighborhood groups that are not Green Neighbors X, but the ones that are, what has been the norm in terms of, have they just said, no, we're just going to stay with the old number, with the old like boundary, or are we going to change, or like what happened with that?
Yeah, well, the situation is that actually even when the old wards were so huge relative to a neighborhood, where we sort of view neighborhood as sort of you can kind of walk in a neighborhood or bicycle in a neighborhood. So even the old ward system, although we called ourselves Green Neighbors 21, we were mostly the south half of the ward, like not really. We did have people come from the north half of the ward, but we didn't meet in the north half of the ward. Now, Green 13 did a much better job of circulating around the ward. They would meet in different libraries around the ward. So they did a really good job at doing that. But then when the ward sizes doubled, I was just speaking to Rita at Green 13 yesterday, you know, just now they're not really neighborhood level, right, like the whole riding. So
Right.
I think although we would still like to have at least one green group in every ward in the city, probably they won't be a representative unless they form a little mini network, which we've talked about. So this is our dream, would have so many green groups in each ward that they'd actually have a little mini network within their ward, which would be awesome.
Mhm.
But so yeah, so the names that are cropping up now are names like yours. They're names that are maybe, you know, not even aspiring to represent the whole ward.
Right, just because it's a like maybe unmanageable from a neighborhood perspective.
6 o'clock.
Yes, yeah.
That's right.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna propose that unless there's any other really pressing questions, that we move to the next part of your presentation.
Okay, so I'm just going to end with this next slide, which doesn't fully show. Let's see. Yeah. So the Eco Fair, Lowell will know, we've had the Eco Fair at the Artscape Witchwood Barns. It was a project of Green Neighbors 21 and was held in our neighborhood, more or less, community center. This would have been the 12th annual Eco Fair at the Barns coming up this November. It's has grown into quite a large event with 700, up to 1,700 participants, 40 exhibitors, webinars, or rather not webinars, but workshops and kids activities and films and eco walking tours, electric car test drives, and so forth. When we, this year, this is the first year that the Eco Fair has been sponsored instead by, instead of being Green Neighbors 21, our local group, it's being co-hosted by Green Neighbours Network. And it's happened to coincide with also the first year that we've gone online for obvious reasons. So it's kind of working well that and we've renamed it Eco Fair Toronto, that we've changed the sort of boundaries to make it a citywide affair. Still organized 100% by volunteers, and still the same, we hope, inspiring and celebratory, family-friendly atmosphere that the Eco Fair has always had. So because it's online, we didn't want to do all of those amazing activities, which we normally did in one day. We decided to spread them out over actually 4 weeks. And the themes of the weeks are shown there: carbon countdown, waste not, active and healthy, and the eco economy. And the overall idea is to celebrate the start of a green new decade. We're at 2020. We know that this is the 10-year decade coming up when we have to have carbon emissions and make big changes to preserve our environment. So our attitude is we're going to do it. So let's celebrate the start of a green new decade. We're on it. So at the Eco Fair, we'll be talking about solutions-based things you can do, how we can tackle the various problems that we have in the environment and in the city. So we will have the same exhibitors, about 40 eco businesses, about 40 nonprofits. They'll be showcased online this time, and we're making little 1-minute videos of the exhibitors and have that available. We're going to have interactive online workshops. We're doing some fun ones on creative mending and plant-based diets and how to cut your carbon, exciting webinars on various topics. Every weekend we'll show a different environmental film and have a film discussion. Online we'll have fun and games for kids and adults. And we're also planning to have Eco Fair neighborhood tours on bikes or walking. And we would love it if you guys would organize one in your neighborhood. And the idea is that there would be some eco features in your neighborhood that you'd want to highlight. Probably rain gardens, I'm guessing. Probably rain barrels. And maybe other things, solar panels or refillery shops, things like that. And if you can identify, I don't know what, 6 to 10, write a little blurb about each one, make a little map. We'll be posting those on the Eco Fair website, hoping to have them from all around the city so people can get out on walking or biking and visit some of the eco locations in neighborhoods across the city. So, and it's all free, and all the details are at our website. So the thing that excites me about this whole thing is going citywide. We're kind of really opening up the exhibitor invitation list to really try to highlight businesses that are farther from our little community here. With the eco tours, trying to get communities across the city involved. It's kind of fun that it's online and anybody can, from anywhere. It's the same amount of work to tune in. And so this is, will be, I think, going forward, the major sort of outreach event for Green Neighbours Network. And it's also co-hosted by Transition Toronto. So that's my little presentation related to Green Neighbours Network. So I'll stop the screen share there.
Lee, one thing that I know is you've been working on for the fair is the idea that there would be different kinds of things in different weeks, would be kind of thematically organized. Do you want to say just a couple words about that?
Oh, okay. They were listed there. So the first week is Carbon Countdown. So the webinar will be basically, it's organized by Drawdown and Climate Fast, and basically kind of saying the problem we have with carbon and what we have to do in the next decade and highlighting the solutions that Drawdown has. So we don't need to get too stressed out. Actually, the solutions are right there and we just need to do them. And then also in that week, we're going to be showing the movie 2040, which is sort of solutions-based, but also kind of raises the issue of how to talk to young people about their future and the climate, but in an optimistic way. And then on the workshop on Sunday afternoon will be on cutting your carbon. We have Project Neutral is going to help us discover where our carbon is coming from. Climate Pledge Collective is going to give you some pledges that you can do to try to cut your carbon. And then Carbon Conversations and Kitchen Table Climate Conversations are going to help us with the motivation piece to actually take us from just being concerned to doing something about it. So that's the first week. And basically all 4 weeks kind of follow the same theme of having an informative webinar on Thursday, a movie with some discussion, and then a workshop, an action-oriented workshop on the Sunday. So the second week's theme is Waste Not. We'll be doing energy and textiles and plastic. And the following week is Active and Healthy, talking about active transportation, farmers markets, plant-based diets, local food. And then the final week is the eco-economy, talking about sustainable shopping, how to promote eco-businesses and to celebrate the eco-business and nonprofit exhibitors that will have been on our website all 3 weeks. And because people are supposed to pledge on the first week, their cut the carbon pledge, on the final day, we will also celebrate all the people that kept their pledges for the full 3 weeks. So that's the program. And then that's sort of the online program. As we said, we'd have the exhibitors, we have the eco tours, and then we have the kids' activities online.
Amazing. I have a question for you. So you've mentioned a couple of times, things that you're hoping that maybe, we might get engaged with. But like as a group, if we wanted to join the Green Neighbours Network, what would we have to do? How would we have to, how would we go about that?
Oh, you just let us know that you're interested.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're a neighborhood green group, you're doing exactly what we want. We would just say, awesome. And we would send you a little form and it asks you for the name of your organization, asks for your logo, asks for a description of what you do. We do ask for a donation of $25 because we don't have any grant support or any other way to get any money. And then we will advertise your group on our website with a link, there's a kind of a card that shows you information. And we hope that that will help people find you. So our hope is that there'll be flags all over the city. People who want to find a neighborhood green group can just go to our website and see what's around, what missions they're doing, and get more and get involved. And if they're in a neighborhood of the city with no green group, we do ask when people sign up as individuals, they tell us their postal code, so that what we're hoping is when we get a cluster of individuals in a certain region of the city that we would, have a party in the park or something and invite them so they can get to know each other and see if there's something they'd like to work on and start a new group.
Nice. I've got the sun pounding in on me. I'm starting to almost disappear here. Great. Are there other questions from anyone in the circle here? Yeah.
Well, so I'm sort of wondering in terms of participation, so sort of you have a central organizing committee and you have a couple of teams or committees, what do the groups do in terms of, like, getting a newsletter is great, but what do the groups do in other than the eco fair, which seems like fantastic, and I'm sure that sort of draws on volunteers from a lot of groups. Is there anything else on an ongoing basis other than the fair?
Yeah.
And that's like a big deal. That's big enough, but I'm just curious.
Yeah. So we have had a volunteer training, like training on how to recruit and retain volunteers. That's a big issue for many groups. So we had a volunteer coordination workshop. And we were thinking that we would do other workshops on that type of thing, like maybe how to get grant money, how to talk to your counselor,
Yeah, whatever people want to learn about.
whatever people want to
We're
learn.
really interested in, in what kinds of experience and information would be really helpful. And part of what we're trying to do is to identify unmet needs that a number of groups share, who are all trying to negotiate their way through this difficult thing of having a neighborhood group, whether it's about finding a place to meet, getting back to the days when people met in places, if that should come again in some near future. How do you do those things, and in what way can we help groups to meet those common needs? So we're very interested in what people feel, what your group feels and other groups feel in terms of what's difficult, what's lacking, where they'd like to go, and where help would be useful, what kind of help would be useful. Because we've got pretty good connections with lots of people with quite a bit of experience. So we're looking to really leverage those connections to be helpful to groups that are still finding their way through the maze of establishing a successful neighborhood presence.
Cool, thank you. Lowell, I see your hand is up.
Sorry, thanks. Yeah, Lee, sorry, I just wanted to, actually I'm sending out an email now, but in order to be a vendor, do they have to be nonprofit groups? Is that what you said? Do they have to be registered nonprofit? No.
Yeah, no, it's about half eco businesses and about half nonprofits.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the nonprofits are like the community groups and some citywide groups that are working on common causes, like the Toronto Environmental Alliance, for example. And then businesses are businesses, and some of them may be B Corps or something like that, but they do make a profit. And what they share is that they're doing the kinds of things that advance the goals of a greener, more vibrant city and walkable neighborhoods and things like that. So we try to bring in a variety of different businesses each year, because if I'm rightly, there's the demand from exhibitors is always quite a bit greater than the number of spaces we have.
Yeah. So obviously at the Witchwood Barns, we have a space limitation. So the 40 exhibitors is the maximum number that we can fit in the space that we have. But we're going to stick with that same 40 online this year, mostly because there's also it's organized by volunteers, so there's a capacity issue too. So that has kept our exhibitor coordinator volunteers plenty busy enough just to do 40. Yeah, and now that we're going citywide, obviously the competition for those 40 spots we anticipate will be high. But our goal is to have a variety. So really try to have a range from, building supply companies to makeup that's eco-friendly or whatever, like something for everybody. And then this year we want to also try to make sure that we spread the exhibitors across the city. So and we want to have new people that weren't there last time, so there's a lot of consideration that's going to go into taking the 40 that actually come. And the invitations to exhibit will be going out soon. And it's the invitation to apply to exhibit so that we know who wants to come, and then we'll pick a variety to actually share at this music fair. So it's next week if you don't get invited.
Okay,
Right.
thank you. So I'm really I'm curious about the you know, these efforts to help local groups really get well established and to provide you know, guidance based on experience and so on. We're really at that stage of you know, trying to get established. We think we were making some good good ground, you know, making up some good ground prior to COVID, and then you know, this has kind of shifted things. And I personally am feeling, you know, pretty grateful that the group has continued to meet and work together through all of this, given that we hadn't been around for, you know, that long, and we're really just getting established. I'm just wondering, though, from your perspective, if there's, you know, a bit of advice that you could give a group like ours about what's really important to focus on at the beginning. That would be really, you know, it would be really helpful, or I'd really be interested to hear what you have to say about that.
Have you had a number of public meetings in your neighborhood? Just wanted to get a sense of where you guys are at right now.
Yeah, I mean, we were initially meeting weekly at the neighborhood Unitarian congregation. Those meetings were open to anyone, and when new people would come in, we would make getting their names and contact.
You know, I'm listening to someone on my headphones, so I can't really hear you.
I'm having a dilemma.
Okay. So yeah, so we were meeting weekly, and when we had the physical space, then we would get new people dropping in. We make a point of signing them up and getting their contact information and add them to the mailing list. We set up a
That's probably
Facebook page.
what you need the most. I'll bring you a glass of water, and then
We set up a Facebook page, and we currently have around 200 and I think we have around 200 members or 250 people who liked our Facebook page. So, but yeah, so we did that. Now that we're meeting online, it's less sort of, you know, we continue to publicize the meetings within our email list. I don't know if we're still putting them out on the Facebook page. Ting, are we still posting the meeting notices on the Facebook page?
For the weekly meetings, yeah?
Yeah.
I made a post earlier today about this meeting.
Okay.
So we are still doing that.
Okay, great. So those are the things that we've been doing. And we also, there were a group of us who Rabia and Rose and I spent several weeks, you know, reflecting on how group structure, like how the group could operate. How would we make decisions? How would we, you know, divide up work and so on to get things done? And we came up with some guidelines for that, and shared some of that with the group. But you know, with COVID and everything, a lot of that has kind of gotten paused in terms of development or growth. And so I'm just curious, because we're end of this month, we're thinking about we're intending right now to have a revisioning, you know, kind of renewal of our sense of purpose here, and see where we want to go. And it would be helpful to have your input, or any input on that.
Well, certainly we'd be glad to be involved, and to if you'd be interested in inviting one of our folks to come to your meeting, be part of the discussion. That might be one way that we could help. The situation under COVID is incredibly tricky for groups like ours, small groups that are based in the neighborhood, and so your kind of physical presence is really important, and one of the great things about meetings is that people show up and then meet other people and get excited about what's going on and come again for the next one. And that's obviously a little harder to do on a virtual basis, although we're exploring it now. So I think part of the trick is going to be finding ways to do this virtually and still give it that neighborhood feel. I think that's part of the challenge right now. And Lee, I don't know, my sense is that many of our local green groups have been either struggling with this or are in a kind of semi-pause because they're just not quite sure how to operate during the pandemic. Have you heard stories, Lee, of people who've managed to come up with events that continue to work well under these conditions?
Well, our St. Clair Reduces team is soldiering on. And I think many of them are in the city are kind of shaking themselves back into life in the online sense. I mean, the thing that's I think really hard for neighborhood groups with Zoom. I mean, it's great, but part of the reason why people get involved with a neighborhood group is to make friends. And so that when they're walking on the street, they can say hi, they know people. They go into the health food store and there's other people that they met at the meetings there. Yeah. And it builds that sense of community. But, it's a bit more difficult now with people trying to stay home more, and you can't, you're not really supposed to be sharing food because, we always had cookies and stuff at our meeting.
Yeah, which is so important, by the way. Mention something that really seems to make a difference. Anything that involves sharing food always seems to go better. Mm-hmm. And any event that has some kind of a break or a breakout in it.
Is that good?
I want more, but
yeah,
there is more, but I don't know.
If there's a break or a breakout, people start chatting with their neighbors, and they suddenly, instead of just sitting quietly and listening to somebody tell them even something, if they're telling something interesting, suddenly they're saying what they think and hearing what somebody else thinks, and there's a kind of energy that surges up in the room, and that carries over when the meeting goes back to the second half. So that's been a really big thing. We keep thinking about the idea of using, Zoom does have a breakout possibility. It's not quite the same. I'm not sure whether we can duplicate that experience. And Lee, I don't know whether you're planning something like breakouts built into the webinars for the Eco Fair, but that may be one way of doing a bit of this kind of thing.
Yeah, we're gonna try that and do polls, try to make it and have the chat and the questions, but that involves actually lots of volunteers. We're looking for more event, like there will be day of event volunteers needed to do all those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. To make it as interactive as possible. I mean, there's pros and cons. I mean, the pro is that, in terms of if you want it to be ward-wide, the physical size of the ward is no longer relevant. Anybody can easily or tune in from anywhere. So you could use this as a time to try to build the geographic breadth of your group if you were interested in that. Yeah, I think the other thing I would like to say is that what Paul and I have found over the years, and Lowell may want to comment on this as well, the thing that has really animated Green Neighbors 21 are the meetings that we've had that we call Lemons to Lemonade. So they are think tank sort of thing. So the Lemons to Lemonade means people come and with their complaints about the neighborhood, like what's wrong? We don't have enough trees. There's not enough bike lanes. There's not, I don't know what, enough energy efficient homes. Whatever their thing is, they come and they talk about what it is in the environment locally that's irksome to them. And then we start talking about solutions, like what could we do as a neighborhood to address some of these problems. So that first meeting is more of a, just trying to identify what those are. And then we have a follow-up meeting that we call Lemon Action. And it always amazes me that anybody comes. People love to complain, but maybe do the action part less so. But actually people do come, and we've had some amazing things come out of that second meeting. And that includes the Repair Cafe, Secondhand Sunday, the green map of our ward.
Actually, that's how the Eco Fair got started too.
Eco Fair, yep. So, and the thing about that approach is it starts with something that's bugging somebody in your group, and it's kind of collaborative. Everybody says, that is something that bothers me too. Let's do something about it. What can we do about it as a group? So you're working on people's issues, and that energizes them because they're actually doing something on something that they care about. So we've found that has been a really important thing for Green Neighbors 21. I mean, the other thing that we would do in our local group is to have, you know, experts come and talk about a problem, and then so the first half we talk about the problem, and the second half we talk about what we could do locally on the problem. But it doesn't seem to energize in the same way, does it, Paul?
No, I think it's partly it's that people are just trying to think about it on the spot. With the Lemons into Lemonade, very often what happens is that there are people who come to the meetings and who have already been thinking, you know, there's something that's wrong here. You know, I've got an inkling of what we could do, and they've been hesitant to talk with anybody about it. They don't know how to get people interested, but this is a place where they are invited to put it out there and say, well, I've been thinking about this thing, you know, where people have all this junk that they don't need, and what if they were to start putting it all out on the same day, and we actually made a thing out of that, and people could just go around and get stuff from their neighbors or from folks on other streets that's out there, you know, and it wouldn't be a garage sale. It would be kind of like something that was free and everybody could just share it. And that idea then really took off. And the same thing for the Repair Cafe. So that, I think one of the things that makes it work is that it gives people who have something on their minds a chance to say, how about this? And the way we set up the meetings, we're in a big circle to start out with, and then we go off and we break out into different places in the room depending on what your topic is. You got a little sign for each of the topics in different places, and you see who shows up there, and people start talking and energy begins to develop. Some of these things don't go anywhere, and others really, you know, they become a kind of focus of excitement, and people start saying, well, here's where we should start, and next week let's do this, and you got a new thing going. So that's it.
Lovely. Just before we move on to any response, I'm just mindful that we invited you guys from 5:30 to 6:30, and that's where we're at right now. You're welcome to, our meeting is scheduled to go till 7, and we've kind of designed it that way so that if we want to have a little bit of a follow-up conversation after our presentations, we can do that. I just want to let you know that you're welcome to stay, but I would like to just say, you know, let's wrap the formal part of the presentation here, and thank you very much for coming to talk to us. Are you interested or are able to stay a little longer, or do you need to leave? I just want to make sure that you're.
I'll actually need to leave in about 5 minutes or so.
Okay. And Lee, what about you?
I think probably having a discussion among yourselves would be, it sounds like a worthwhile thing. And I hope you'll talk about the eco tour that you're going to do for the eco fair, and how you're going to just go straight to the join us.
Yes.
Green Neighbours Network. Because we'd certainly love to have your group involved.
Here,
And,
here.
as Paul and I said, we're a new organization, feeling our way, and so you tell us what you want us to do. We have listened to other groups and run different workshops. Now that we are incorporated as an official nonprofit, we have to have an annual general meeting, which is fine as long as it's our members want to come, because it's exciting and fun and they get to know each other and share their enthusiasm and excitement. So we will be planning an annual general meeting that we hope will be kind of like a little mini eco fair of our neighborhood green groups. That'll probably be, I don't know what, Paul, there's a time limit. I think it'll be sometime in probably in 2021. I think.
Looking that way now, it would be so nice to actually meet together physically.
Yes,
We'll have to see how that plays out. In the world, I mean, ultimately we can do it virtually, but it would be much more exciting if we could do that. So at the moment, there's not too much pressure on us, but we have at least until next spring to do this, possibly longer actually.
Yeah, but it's really fun. I think you'll really enjoy I love being part of the network. You just meet so many interesting people doing interesting things. You just can hardly sleep at night, all the things that you could be doing. So
and actually, I'll just add one thing there too. We have found that some of the most interesting things that develop and some of the greatest connections that have come from being in our group come through individuals who show up as volunteers. And we've actually put out ads for volunteers and had people apply. And these are serious applications, just like you might do for a paid job. And we've managed to bring some absolutely wonderful, extremely talented, enthusiastic people on board. And quite often, not folks who necessarily have been in Toronto for all that long, people coming here from other parts of the world as well, who are making superb contributions and bringing a lot of talent and energy. So I just mentioned that as one of the fun aspects of this whole thing, is that you connect with volunteers who are excited about this and are trying to find ways that they can contribute.
yeah, I think you'll find it for your own group. I know it's difficult in the certain circumstances, but people are really worried about climate, and they're really worried about the environment, and they read the newspaper too. I mean, it's not like they don't know what's going on. And so with the network, what we want to try to do is to say, don't just sit at home and worry alone. Get together with your neighbors and other people and worry together. And don't just worry together, do something about it, because that's what makes you feel better, feel more empowered, like you're more in control. And talk to your counselors and elected representatives, tell them how you feel. So, I think that the work that you're doing in your community is really important. And I think that the people are there that could benefit by being involved with your group. Because it's a scary time to be reading the newspaper these days. Yeah, so we need to support each other and encourage each other, and also share solutions. Like what can we do that will make a difference?
That's a very important part of what the Green Neighbors idea in general. In all the individual groups that we know and in our network, certainly we want to stay with that attitude. We're about solutions. We're about joining together, helping each other to find good solutions. The strength of numbers and the strength of shared discussion and ideas can carry us a very long way. And what we're hearing from people who are talking about the transformation of the city, the whole idea of transform TO, and the creation of a city that's going to have much smaller footprint and better green characteristics is that it depends. This is not something that the city is going to be able to do for us. It's going to depend on local communities joining with the city to make that happen. So there's a job for everybody to do. And this is one of the ways of connecting into that whole situation and ways of making a contribution.
Sounds like a really good place a good note to wrap things up on. So
Okay.
Great,
I
great.
appreciate, yeah, I'm going to appreciate your amazing presentation and very inspiring message and all the helpful hints and advice about how we can move forward. So thank you very, very much for coming tonight and taking the time to be with us.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much. That was really wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. That was awesome.
Well, thank you very much for inviting us. And I'm inspired by your group. I think it's great. And if there's anything that we can do, whether you join or not,
So yeah, we're
very happy to provide
absolutely.
any resources or encouragement or anything. Yeah, so thanks very much for inviting us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks so much for inviting us.
I'm
This
sure
is
we'll be
great.
in touch. Yeah.
Okay, it's been great meeting all of you.
Likewise.
Looking forward to
Great
further
meeting
connections.
you.
Okay. Yeah. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
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 Bye.